Greetings and welcome, everyone. It's Geek Moviecast, episode 429. I'm one of your hosts, Jim Gast, joined by Mike Sneedy.
What's up?
Corey Feinsod.
Bum, bum, bum.
Okay. And Tony Kokonakis.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Welcome, listeners. Welcome, viewers, to 429 of the Moviecast. This is our of the year editions. I'm going to turn my hat backwards because everybody else got their hat backwards. There we go.
Tony's got it.
Tony got forward, yeah. Welcome, everybody. This is our of the years. So this is our best of that we've watched. Our most disappointing.
Yeah, more like favorites, I'd say. You know.
Yeah, we don't get to see every film on the market, so there may be better ones out there, but these are our best. Okay.
For me, this is just ranking everything I saw this year because I didn't get the 5.
I know you're I know you're paying with like games. Games was like tough for me to put together because of like this list for me was like quick to put together, but games that was tough with my lack of them. I had like blitz myself in December, really.
Well, also for games, there was stuff I had to add that just came in the last 2 months too, because played a lot of older stuff.
Well, that's the thing.
Also watched a lot of older stuff.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. So, anything you want to cover before we break into this disappointing? We're good. Again, we're gonna start off with disappointing. This doesn't necessarily make it the worst, but right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was just going to mention the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer.
Yeah, that dropped today. So, one of my movies on my list.
About that, I think last week, right? I was like, oh, it'd be great if they didn't, but I saw people posting about it saying, how is this even happening with, and I'm like, of course.
So cute. It's adorable.
Yeah. All right. So let's do this. Most disappointing movies for us of 2018. I was gonna say of this year, but this is 2019. So this is 2018 most disappointing movies. Let's kick it off. I'm gonna kick it off with Mike, who didn't see hardly any movies. So let's kick it off.
I saw all of 4 movies this year.
All 4. That's it.
Yes, 4 movies.
Okay.
4 new movies this year. Okay. So keep in mind that's most disappointing isn't like bad, but for me, and it sort of ties into what we were talking about. It'll be Infinity War. Just because I expected more of what we expect to happen rather than just sort of a tease for when the real repercussions come. So that's how that sort of disappointed me a little bit. I was hoping for more of an ending, maybe. Well, let's just say that.
Okay.
You knew they were splitting up into 2 movies, though.
Like, yeah, I knew that for like a while, but it's still a movie that you expect an ending to.
Well, it's tough when you do a 2. Yeah, it's tough when you do a 2-parter. I understand Mike's gripe a little bit because for me, like obviously, it made my list of top movies in my top 5.
It's in my top 5 too, of course.
Well, yeah, but because it's disappointing, it doesn't necessarily mean it can't be your favorite.
No, I know. It's just I don't know. I thought this is something we all came to terms with like years ago.
Yeah, I don't know. Interesting, I guess.
I mean, like we waited for this movie for a long time, and we knew that there was going to be a second part, but you thought maybe like. Okay, to go into a little spoilerish stuff here.
Okay, you know what though? Let's make this statement. This is a best of podcasts, so expect spoilers. Sometimes we're not going to hold. Let's not hold this back. Honestly, we can't.
We'll say the name of the title first. So you have an opportunity.
So now I'm going to kind of spoil Infinity War here, which if the internet hasn't already done for you, then how are you listening to this? But no, I just was thinking maybe something that like felt more permanent would have happened. Like maybe like the core for one of them would have taken the hit, and that would have felt like okay, that's real, and we'll see what happens after that. Everything that's happened just because of the way it's set up, I just feel like does any of that matter? Like in the long run, like for the end of this movie, like part 2.
Yeah, weren't they like talking about this movie's Spider-Man's Far From Home could be occurring different timelines, could be before?
Well, that's just because someone noticed that there was no years put on Parker's passport, but that's probably just to keep up the thought that maybe it's not occurring afterwards, just so it's not a blatant spoiler that he's just hanging out, but it's probably going to be.
Altered trailers before.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Corey, what would be your most disappointing?
I'm gonna go with Ready Player One.
I
think that had so much potential.
I had to debate it myself. It almost made my most disappointing.
It was my runner-up because I haven't finished the movie. So it's like, I've watched part of it and I haven't finished it. So that's interesting for me.
Disappointing, right? It's like I want the movie to be good. I like the book a lot, and they changed a little bit more than I would have liked, but at the same time, they had to change it to kind of modernize it. It's just, I don't know. They could have done better. There's definitely great sequences, but it didn't.
I understand, and I can agree. Not to take your spot away, but what I would say is my expectations were so low that actually when I saw it, I was like, all right, that wasn't so bad actually. Like there were enjoyable. I was going to that thinking like, wow, this is going to be a disaster and a train wreck. I was like, you know what, there were good parts. They had a Time Gundam in it, so I'm happy. Like,
the pop culture references like crazy.
The other thing was the trailers kind of had like all the good parts too. So.
Yeah, yep, agreed. Sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, Tony, what was your disappointing?
Mine was Deadpool 2, actually.
Really?
Okay.
I'm not saying it's necessarily like a bad movie.
Again, preface. These are disappointing because we had high expectations or expectations or whatever. So
yeah, exactly. But just for me, like Deadpool 2, like when I walked out of it, I was like, yeah, it was okay. Like it was good. Like there's again, I like Ready Player One. There was some decent sequences, and there were some laughs. But two things. I felt like the humor, and the like, wow, I can't believe I'm watching something like this on the big screen, kind of lost its luster the second time around. Like it's just like, okay, well, I expect him to do that kind of stuff. And then two, I don't know, the storyline kind of fell flat for me because anytime you introduce time travel shenanigans, 99% of the time I'm like, all right, whatever, like none of this fucking matters. Which, surprise, surprise, is pretty much like the punchline at the end.
That's the punchline.
Kind of like
joke,
right, and kind of like what Mike said, where it's like nothing of permanent. This is like, all right, I get it, but I was just like, what was the point of this movie then? And it's just, I don't know, whatever. Again, it's not a bad movie. It was just, because when Deadpool 1 came out, that was actually my surprise of the year. I'm 99% positive that was my surprise of the year because I hate that character. Before that movie, I hate that character just because like his conventions appear like cosplay. It's like the male equivalent of Harley Quinn. It's just everybody with that's a jackass.
It's an easy costume.
Yeah, and just troll around. I'm just like, God, I'm fucking sick of Deadpool. Like it's the lowest hanging fruit for whatever douchebags. But that movie, I was like, wow. Like, don't get me wrong. There's humor and crass and everything with Ryan Reynolds, but at the core, it still had a really good story. There. So for me, it was just Deadpool 1 was like up here, and Deadpool 2 it's like just middle.
Yeah, I can see that. I think that the things that made Deadpool successful were lost in the second one with the relationships between characters. Like the relationship between the characters in this movie.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree because that's what it was. Like even though Vanessa, right? Mm-hmm. Even though she wasn't around in the first one all the time, like that was still the character that was pulling Deadpool to the ground a bit, grounding him and just making it more relatable and stuff. Where the second one was just like you got that wacky bartender loser guy who's just like, let's hire some interns and get Team Deadpool going on. It's like, all right, cool.
Yeah. My most disappointed was like it was actually tough because not that I was extremely disappointed by like a ton of things this year, but I mean, like I'm not saying this won it, but Wreck-It Ralph was up there for me because I thought it was very just meh. But ultimately, actually,
Incredibles.
Yes, it is Incredibles 2.
Yeah,
Incredibles 2.
I almost made my list, but I cared more about Deadpool 1 than I did Incredibles 1.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for me was I was like, I'm a big Pixar Disney fan, and I was just kind of like, I guess I was expecting after all this wait something incredible, and it just didn't live up to that hype. It just, I don't know. It was okay, but I don't have any, I don't care to never, if I never saw it again, I'd be fine with it.
Yeah. And that was my stance for it too. Like I enjoyed it while I was watching it, but at the end afterwards, I was just like, we waited this many, like what, 10 plus years.
Yeah.
And this is what you give us. Like, I mean, it's okay, but
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's the problem. So, yeah. All right. Mike's got a call, so we're going to get into our, I mean, like I said, Wreck-It Ralph was. Well,
if we want to throw out other ones that we Ocean's 8, I thought was a real big disappointment.
You expected? Wait, go back to this. Ocean's 8.
Yes. I mean, what I wanted from that movie is I wanted to see a good heist movie with like the Ocean's 13 was great. I wanted a good heist movie. Didn't get that from Ocean's 8. I thought that it had no heart to it. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, with Deadpool, like it went through the motions, but it didn't hit me with the feels. Didn't there was no like meaningful characters in that. Yeah. The reason they were doing it was just,
I liked it. I didn't mind it. My expectations were low because, I mean, let's be honest. Ocean's 11 was fantastic. Ocean's 12 was fucking trash.
It was god awful.
Ocean's 13 was like,
it was okay. And it's like, okay, let's get back to that. And Ocean's 11 is obviously amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I would put Ocean's 8 right there with Ocean's 13. I don't think.
I'd say this is like around 12 or even lower. I was just wholeheartedly disappointed because you even talked like, oh, you liked it and stuff. I remember.
I remember hearing that. I thought you had said that, Corey. Now I'm mixing it up.
The cast is really good. So like, I like the cast and everything. It just, All right, let's move on.
All right, so now let's move into the surprise, Corey. Michael, catch up. So your biggest surprise of 2018?
I have to go with Aquaman. I think.
Yeah. Wow.
It's like we all thought there's no way DC could do anything, and I'm not even looking at like how well it's doing financially for them.
See, that's what took over for me because Aquaman was my first right, and then I took it off for the movie that replaced it because of just box office.
And it's like the thing with Aquaman though is like this is probably the worst character in the Justice League, like the most uninteresting and like. Obviously the most memeing, like it's like just like so many memes with this character, and Jason Momoa is not a leading character, like he's not a leading role guy. He's more of like a good side guy, like a Justice League. He was a good side character, but I did not think he was going to carry the movie. I was worried, I was hopeful, but it surprised me that it actually was not as terrible as it could have been, and the action and it was really great in my opinion. I thought they did a great job with the action. As far as like the relationship between two characters, I didn't think there was no spark there, but at the same time, like I just really like the action in it. And again, it was definitely a much better representation of a comic book character.
Sure. Yeah. Mike, what was your surprise?
My surprise was Aquaman.
Oh, so
I was also surprised. I was surprised just because the track record hasn't been great for DC, and I'm also surprised that it just did so well. Well, really,
yeah.
But it was visually interesting. It wasn't like this is like the second movie that came out this year that's basically a retelling of Lion King, which is a retelling of Hamlet, just happy. But anyway. So it wasn't like an original plot, but it was just very, very visually interesting. They made him likable enough when his character kind of sucks normally, and to me, the best love story in the movie wasn't him and Mera. It was the parents. That was where that was at.
I would agree with that.
So no, it was pretty good, and I was surprised because it's just sort of out of nowhere that like an Aquaman movie is like the best
toppling Justice League.
I might feel like this kind of ties in. It doesn't tie in, but this is my thoughts that went through it for surprise. And I mean, Tony, what would be your surprise? Just because I have a feeling, I don't know. It might be different. Because I know you like Bumblebee, right?
Yeah, I did. But actually, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was actually my surprise. And I'll just say because it's a little pre-spoiler of the list, but going into it, like, obviously, since they announced it and even since the first trailer, I was like, okay, I'm on board. I like Spider-Man. Like, Spider-Verse was just wacky, weird shit going on. Like, sure, I'm down for that. But the movie was just so good. That I was just like, holy shit. Like, I can't believe I'm sitting in the theater in the year 2018 and this just happened. Like, it just astounds me.
I mean, when they first started talking about that movie, I think we talked about it on the podcast last year. Or was it beginning of because they were talking about it. We're like, this is going to
just around this time. Yeah.
Just going to be horrible, but probably because Sony was doing it. It wasn't part of the universe.
Yeah, there were doubts.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There were definitely doubts.
But yeah, I mean, that's like, I didn't know what's funny when I made this list. I didn't even consider that for surprise. Like, I don't know why. Really? It should be.
It has. I mean, I can't believe it wasn't even considered.
No, it wasn't. It was, for me, my biggest surprise is Black Panther, just because it's Black Panther, and I have no idea who that is until
it's the same story as Aquaman too.
Yeah, I know. So that's the thing. Aquaman was the original. I wrote Aquaman down on my list because I am surprised how good that is. To the point where it actually, you know, giving you a preview of my top 5, it did make my top 5. But it ultimately, I'm like,
Black Panther for me, it was like, not to like poo-poo on your Black Panther. I was just like, it's Marvel. Like,
yeah, but no, you can't count that against it.
No, why not?
Because look, I don't know anything about this character, and I thought Doctor Strange was very.
Their track record.
I thought Doctor Strange was.
That's what I was doing.
Doctor Strange was very mediocre.
Yeah, but look at their track. They made Ant-Man interesting, in my opinion. I like that movie a lot. I think the sequel is pretty good as well. Like, they made characters that you don't necessarily think about. You know,
you're right.
Movies, and I think that and we saw Black Panther before, and everybody loved his appearance in Civil War.
Yeah, no, you're right. But I mean, I don't want to put words into his mouth, but I consider Black Panther this too, because, you know, obviously I'm all aboard the Marvel train. I was there with you. I loved his Civil War appearance, and you know, with the first movie, it's like, okay, I expect this much, and yeah, we got a little bit. Like, I think the third act was pretty, you know, similar to most Marvel third act, but the other 2/3 I thought were actually really, really fantastic, and it went away from what I actually thought, because, you know, he didn't really do actually that much Black Panther stuff, aside from like that cheese sequence and whatnot. It was more about him, more about Wakanda and his interactions with his cousin and stuff like that. And I really liked it. And supporting cast I thought was really strong for that movie too.
Well, I thought they outshined him, honestly.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Like, they did.
Yeah. I think, and that's the thing, I think it got that movie together, and I think that the story itself was just awesome, incredible story for it. And so for me, like, Aquaman's a very fun movie, and I enjoyed it. But Black Panther wins it.
Yeah,
I mean, I could totally see it too. Like, I considered it as well, and like, for me, it was just like, it's Marvel and DC. Like, I'm more surprised DC actually pulled it off.
For me, Black Panther was exactly what I thought it would be.
You didn't like Black Panther? I thought it was actually. Thought it was going to be that good?
I think I gave it a 7.
Surprise, man.
Did you really? I would give that. I gave that movie, I think, an 8.85, if I remember right.
I mean, I would give that movie like a solid 8. Like, that's what it was to me. I mean, but that doesn't. I wasn't surprised about it.
I was, because I thought Doctor Strange was just very mediocre. Like, again, another movie I have no intention of watching.
I knew a little bit about, not a lot, but just from like little side comic book stories. Like, I know the character a little bit. I know he has the potential to do some pretty interesting stuff. He, like, you know, he leads his own secluded country. He's like,
the cartoon movies are pretty decent.
I mean, like, yeah, like, so I knew a lot about the character, and I expected some good things from him. And
I didn't know anything about the character, and I didn't. So for me, I had low, like, my expectations.
So what I know about Aquaman is that he's normally a shitty character, and he acts more like how.
But you got the same. You got the same setup for Aquaman that we did for Black Panther. You got the same.
Black Panther's not a shitty character, though.
No, I didn't get the same setup.
Yes, you did. You got to see him in the Justice League, where he was the same character, the exact same character.
But you see, the Civil War was a better movie than Justice League. You're making me say it, but it's true.
Oh shit! Hold on.
Let's just stop this podcast right now. It's over with.
But still, like, they're both, like, you know,
5 p.m.
I mean, that's the thing, is we talked about, like,
they're like the same
that we've seen prior to help that too. But I mean, we can all agree they both deserve surprising. Like, they did well. They did great. So
yeah. All right, let's get into the best of list. This is our top 5 movies that we've seen. Now, Mike, you're gonna kick us off. You only have 4, so maybe we'll hold off on you.
Well, let's skip on Mike the first.
No, I cheated for my number 1. Okay. So I do have a 5th.
Okay, that's weird. Go ahead, number 5.
My number 5 is Black Panther.
Okay.
Like I said, I mean, and it was. Like I said,
it's a fun movie.
Can I tie this into you? My number 5 is Aquaman. As we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean. But go on. Black Panther.
Again, for me, maybe it got hurt a little because I saw it on a plane, and the effects that were sort of
even
worse.
Movie on a plane.
Well, that's how it had to happen. I had my honeymoon going on at the time, so that's what happened.
Could have just gotten in the limo, gone to the theater, watched the movie.
No, I mean,
gone to the plane.
that was during prep time. The actual movie came out. It was never mind.
Yeah,
so I liked it. It was pretty much, nothing blew me away about it, but it was good. It was a good, solid, Black Panther story. So 5.
Yeah. All right, Corey, number 5.
My number 5 is Crazy Rich Asians. I think that
I didn't get to see it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that we talked about it like recently too. I just saw it with my wife, and that really solidified it. Like seeing it with my wife, and she's also an Asian, a Korean, and so there's a lot of things that she's relating to here, especially being about an Asian girl meeting a Asian family and the mom situations and things like that. So that really like hit home for her a lot, and just that experience really elevated the movie as well for me. And so I'd highly recommend. It's a good rom-com. It definitely does that well. So
yeah, okay,
would recommend it.
All right, Tony, your number 5.
My number 5. Let's see. My number 5 was Bumblebee, and it almost made my surprise.
I wish I had seen. I
Yeah.
wish I'd seen that, but go on.
Yeah. I talk about recent, so I'll just do a quick recap. But I mean, the Transformers movie franchise has had its turmoils. It's been a roller coaster of emotions, and it starts out, dives that bit down, gets back up a little bit, and it just plummets again. It's just like, I don't know, my emotions are just so mixed in that. And I mean, I didn't even see the last one last night or whatever I got. Still haven't seen it. I know it's on. I think it was on Netflix for a while, and I'm just like, I don't care, because nobody, even like the most hardcore fans I know, have told me anything good about it. Not even like the CGI, which is at least one saving grace for even the worst of the Transformers movies up until then. So I was like, whatever. And like Bumblebee, I'm like, dude, like Fridge is dead. Like this movie should have came out like 3-4 years ago. But then they did it. They Travis Knight turned it around and really made just a worthwhile small. And I say that because it really is. It was. I think there's only like 3 robots for the most part for the movie. There's some awesome sequences, a lot of G1, Generation 1 stuff. And it was really just about a girl and her robot and / car. And it's just an awesome reboot / origin, I guess, or whatever like that. But it was just really hot and gives me hope that maybe they could turn it around in the good hands.
Cool. Okay, cool. My number 5, as I said, was Aquaman, because I'm going to use this word. It's going to probably spark controversy. I was surprised about how fun it was, because I was expecting terribleness and awfulness of the DC universe. And at least we got something that was, well, it's not the most impressive story I've ever seen and not the most impressive CG. It was a good launching point.
It's funny to me how you said Black Panther's story is so great and Aquaman's is bad, and it's like the same story.
Yeah, it's how it's presented, man. It's all how it's presented. Yep, it's how you execute. Could have the same story, but it's the execution. So yeah, I think that Jason Momoa is not the strongest of actors. He definitely needs help from people in certain things. He's got a range, and they stuck within his zone in this movie, and that works. Will this work in a second movie? I'm skeptical.
I agree. I think they really knew who he was and what type of character he was, and let him just be himself there.
Yeah,
and played to the strengths of.
That's what they did. So I am skeptical of a Aquaman 2. Like, if they do this again to stick with him, does it stay like that? Like, his range is limited. So.
Well, you're gonna get it. I mean, if you make $1 billion,
yeah. So that was my number 5. All right, number 4, Mike.
No, my number 4 is Infinity War.
Okay.
While I said it was disappointing, it was still like a big culmination with some real great moments and all these characters. So it was great, lots of fun.
10 years in the making thing. Like, it was just kind of like, yeah. So you had that great nostalgia of it. So, but yeah.
So a lot was going on. It was cool, and I really liked. I mean, one scene that stands out for me is definitely the mild spoiler, I guess, the fight with Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and Iron Man, and Star-Lord against Thanos.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, the Titan scene was good.
It was a good scene. I think it showed some interesting, like, creative choreography with like their powers and stuff. And from there, the movie was just fun. It's still, there's like things about it that bother me. I don't like Squidward and them coming out of nowhere and being such a big part of this movie after everything that was built up. You hear you get these people out of nowhere, and there was some issues I had with it, but overall, it's still a fun movie and had its great moments.
Okay, Corey.
Mine's Mission Impossible: Fallout.
Okay.
I was trying to catch up with that franchise. I never got to, unfortunately.
Okay. I love this franchise. I think Tom Cruise has done a fantastic job with it. It keeps getting better. Well, it's not necessarily better every time, but like it's on par with itself. I think that 2 is obviously a low point, but Mission Impossible Fallout is fantastic and probably the best one, I think, in this franchise.
I want to watch it. Don't spoil this one, please.
I'm not going to spoil anything. I just, as far as like espionage, spies, action, practical effects, and stuff like that, this movie has all of that you want, and the characters are really great, and like you do come to like really appreciate them and want to see them succeed. And as you go through the series, you also get to know them too and like feel for them. So
and Henry Cavill's mustache was required.
Henry Cavill's mustache is amazing. I mean, wow. Makes the character.
Yeah, makes the character. Anyways, so all right, Tony, what's your number 4?
My number 4. This is one that I think is from left field, and you guys won't see coming. But there was this movie that actually was not theatrically released, but was released on Netflix called "To All the Boys I Loved Before," and it was a teenage rom-com, actually.
Interesting.
But it was just really fun. Actually, I wasn't expecting to like it so much. It was just one of the things where like,
is that the one with the girl in the heart like behind her and it's like written or something?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And it's interesting because it's from a perspective from a teenage girl, which obviously, or not obvious, but I was never a teenage girl, so it was from her perspective. And basically, the story was whenever she fell in love with or had a crush on somebody, basically. She wrote a letter to them just to get her feelings out, and then like put it in an envelope and like kind of just hid it and never like mailed it or anything like that. And she's done that ever since she was a little girl. So like I think she's had like 5 or 6. And then in high school, something happens, and these letters get sent out to her crushes / loves, and it just is this interesting thing of like, what, really, like that, blah blah, this thing and that thing, and then it's all about her trying to like navigate through that without getting like just shit on, because one of the guys was her best friend that started dating her older sister, so it's like drama and stuff like that. But it sounds so corny, so cheesy, but I mean, for rom-coms, you could do so much worse. And this is actually one of those things that was like worthwhile. It's not like too long. I think it's like 90-something minutes. It was just like short, sweet, and like, it's one of those feel good, like, okay, it doesn't have to, not everything has to be about like, saving the world or whatnot. So
yeah. All right. My number 4, I went with Ant-Man and Wasp.
Interesting.
Because I thought the weird part about my list were like, for me, the top 3 movies were 1, 2, 3. I just knew it off the bat. And then it was like, I saw a lot of movies that were like 7s and 8s. And like, it's like, yeah, what really goes on this list now? So, because like Wreck-It Ralph for me was, up in the disappointing category. Incredibles 2. What did I see? I saw The Grinch. I saw a bunch of movies. Mission Impossible, Solo. All of these movies were, for me, they were just mediocre movies. And so I'm like, ultimately, I'm not saying by default Ant-Man gets number 4, but I guess kind of it does. I mean, Deadpool 2 again. That Tony, I don't disagree with you. Where I'm like, it was good, but it wasn't like, oh my god, it wasn't.
Make my list.
So yeah, I mean, Ant-Man and Wasp. I felt like at least was a very good. I really loved the different size. The special effects. Love the special effects. I love Paul. I think Paul Rudd as Ant-Man is awesome as him, and Michael Douglas. Yeah, all the whole cast. I mean, I just love that entire cast. I think they're all great.
Like almost more her movie. It was more like Wasp and the Ant-Man.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously had, I think, a villain problem still in that movie. I don't think the Ghost Girl was anything great, but they made her try to seem more personable at least. But it was. I really enjoyed the movie, and it's something I have seen again. So it's like, okay, there's my number 4. I think. Plus, it ties into the whole Infinity War. Everything at the end, Endgame. It ties into Endgame a little bit. I hope. I ultimately give it number 4. So,
nice.
All right, number 3, Mike.
All right. What did I do? Oh, Aquaman. So Aquaman, I have it a little higher here just because it was sort of my triumphant return to movie theaters after like 6 months.
You got burnt out.
No, I just couldn't see movies,
Yeah.
and there was nothing really in my mind that excited me enough to go. But Aquaman, it's a good movie to see in the theaters. It was a big spectacle,
Sure.
And I just thought it was, I was surprised by how solid it was, and I really thought it was a good use of veteran actors and supporting roles. Like sometimes I think they get that wrong, but I thought they did it right this time with like Willem Dafoe and Nicole Kidman, people like that. It was pretty interesting. Dolph Lundgren.
He's like weird with the red hair. Well,
the hair, it was weird the whole time, but you got used to it after a while.
Yeah.
But no, it was it could have went way worse than it did, and I'm glad that I got to see like this great popcorn movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was. Corey, number 3.
Number 3 for me is A Quiet Place.
Oh, I wanted to see that. Oh, every time like Tony mentions Bumblebee, and I'm like, I want to see that, and I'm like, Quiet Place. Oh, I want to see that.
That movie, man, it's one of those where there's like no talking really. I mean, because it's all about the villains or the monsters. The movie hunt by sound, and so you make sound, and you're basically dead. And the movie just starts off with like, oh shit, like they make you know that this threat is real and it has consequences if you make noises. And so right off the bat, if you do something, like if you make a noise, you're fucked. And so every time, like any little sound, you're like, oh shit. And they do a fantastic job of just making the suspense factor and like the anticipation without like even having the monsters on screen, or like it's like the Alien effect. It's what
I just saw like the opposite of this movie in Bird Box. And not the opposite, almost the same thing, but with Vision. But go on.
But yeah, so just very well acted. The kids did a great job, because that can always go poorly if you have bad kid actors. And they did a fantastic job, which elevated the movie even more. Jim from The Office was great. His wife was really good, Emily.
Was he too Jim from The Office-y or not?
No, I mean you're always gonna see him as that, like our generation, I think. But at the same time, he's doing it. Like,
that's his wife, right? That's his actual wife.
Emily,
so I would assume they have good chemistry on screen.
They do. No, absolutely. Okay. And the fact that she's like also pregnant is like ridiculously. And I don't know if that's spoilers. It's in the trailer, I believe. But,
I think so.
But it's like that also is like, oh shit, like what's gonna happen? Because like she's on the brink of like, how do you like give birth to a kid and not make any noise? So that whole aspect is just like, oh shit. And the way that the movie ends is very interesting. So cool. I definitally highly recommend, if you're into suspense thrillers, it nails every aspect of it.
I think I want to check that out. I definitely want to check that out. So all right, Tony, what's your number 3?
Let's see. My number 3. Mine was Black Panther. We already talked about it a lot, but so I'll just highlight the things that I really appreciated. How again, his supporting cast was probably the best out of all the superhero movies.
The villain was probably stronger than the hero.
And that's exactly what I was going to get to, because we didn't mention the villain. And as we said so often, the villain really helps to make the story just fantastic. And I mentioned on our spoiler cast, but it was interesting because this is one of the few examples where the villain, despite him losing the battle, he actually won in the essence that he got T'Challa to actually change his ways and change Wakanda for the betterment of society or the world, whatever you want to call it, because that was what it was all about. You guys, he even said like you guys have all this power, all this knowledge, all this technology, and you're just hiding. You're not doing anything. You could change the world. So I thought that was really just a way different change than just like, oh, I'm just gonna take over the world or destroy the world or whatever. Just like, okay, well, it's like he did get a little hokey at the very end where it's like, yeah, I'm gonna destabilize all the governments. I'm, whoa, bro, like I was with you up until right now. Like you just kind of dialed it to 11. Like I need you to take it back to maybe like a 6, maybe a 7 tops. But it was just really, really fantastic. Strong show for that character and all the cast. They did a great job. And one thing I do want to say is that I don't think gets enough credit, or at least when we talk about that kind of stuff. But the costume designers did a fantastic job, like all throughout. Like all their costumes were like really well done.
Set design, costume.
Yeah, like the initial challenge when they had all those people at the waterfall and the boats and stuff like that. That was just really awesome. Like it really made you feel, or at least me, I feel like this Wakandan culture could actually be like something that was based on a lot of obviously real life stuff.
Yeah,
so,
cool. Awesome. I'm gonna go ditto times 2 on that, and whatever Tony said, because that's my number 3. So yes, we don't need to talk about Black Panther anymore. All right, Mike, number 2.
Number 2. My number 2 is Spider-Verse.
Oh,
which is maybe my number 1 if you only count actual movies.
You cheated at number 1?
Yes,
okay.
I did. Yeah, so Spider-Man, Spider-Verse is just a combined, interesting character, interesting characters, humor, a good story. I'm still a little back and forth with the character like design and the sort of like the style. I know that a lot of you guys mostly love it. I'm a little iffy on it, but so overall, it was just the most complete like movie of the 4 that I watched, in my opinion, this year. So yeah,
hard to argue with that.
My number 2, and it was good.
Right. Corey,
my number 2 is Infinity War.
Nice.
I think that movie lived up to everything that it was going to be, and the villain obviously was fantastic, and the aftermath of what happens there is just amazing to watch. Like the society, like our real life, like how we reacted as fans of movies and even like non-fans of this type of thing. Just they all knew what happened.
My only gripe with that movie was the chosen people after the snap. I feel like they should have mixed it up a little more, because you're like, okay, you're taking all the new guys and you're leaving the old cast. But I'm like, you know what I mean? Like the original they left. And I'm like, they should have probably intertwined it a little more and kept it more. I think they could have done that a little differently at the end. But that movie was fantastic. But go on, if you want to say more.
We're probably going to talk about it a little more.
Oh yeah, that's my number 2. Tony, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is actually Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, okay. Okay.
My number 1 and 2, I went back and forth actually quite a bit, because it was one of those things where it's like one day at 1 hour, I'm just like, yeah, this is definitely my number 1, and then another day I was like, no, this is my number 1. So I actually wound up watching both of them again just to like make sure that like I was like, you know what, I
feel good with the positions they're putting on.
Exactly. And don't get me wrong, Spider-Man is utterly fantastic. Like
which we're gonna talk about some more.
Yeah, we
really fantastic.
If anybody knows us, we know that what's coming here.
Yeah, but it's such a, in my opinion, it's beautiful. I love how they mishmashed all these designs, all these characters, while still bringing Miles Morales to the forefront of potentially like a wider audience. Yes, I understand he's been a comic character for quite a while in the Ultimate Universe, but like this is really what's going to push that character into the limelight and just be like, hey,
right? It's like what Robert Downey Jr. did for Iron Man,
right? Exactly. Where it's like, okay, we're gonna get maybe a real Miles Morales, maybe we'll get a Spider-Man cartoon or whatever video game with Miles, focused on Miles Morales rather than him just being a supporting character in Marvel Spider-Man. But back to back like that, I think that speaks really good. The only downside is like we talked about in the thing podcast spoilercast is. I really didn't like Kingpin's depiction as like the ultimate villain. I just really hated his accent, how he appeared, even his character motivation. I was like, really, dude? And just like how he was such a threat to like multiple Spider-Man. Like, really, like if you had a room full of Spider-Man, Kingpin would just like fall over and like have a heart attack because like whatever.
Yeah.
But that's minor critiquing. Soundtrack was amazing, and just. I want more. So I want that sequel. I want Spider-Gwen. She's a fantastic character. I loved her for a while in the comics. Obviously, she's a huge fan favorite now, but like seeing her on screen, utterly fantastic. Also, the girl who did the voice actually was the main actress for Bumblebee, so it was kind of like nice going back to back.
That's cool.
Like that. So yeah, just
awesome,
spectacular.
Yeah, mine was Infinity War, because ultimately, like, this is 10 years in the making, and it was close. It was number 1 at first until I went and saw a movie in December. But it was, like, the movie was fantastic. I think I was like smiling most of that movie, just the nostalgia of watching them. The end product of what they've been building for us, in the screen.
Just like Star-Lord meeting Thor for the first time. Was
I mean, just getting
and like Batista's what's his name? Drax is like.
I think that was the funny. I think that's one of the best parts.
Dude, that's a man.
Because I mean, Guardians has been so divided out to the other ones. Mm-hmm. So it's like cool to finally get that team mixed in with the Avengers. And it's just really awesome. And you have, I mean, just everybody, they brought the cast back like crazy. I mean, everybody was there. And while they
gave everybody a good amount of time to show off a little bit.
But they also didn't make that time look like they're giving them time. They used it part of that story very well. They intertwined it very well, I thought. And I think the only gripe I had was the Hulk. For me in that movie was just such a. I don't like what they did with the Hulk.
Having ED.
Yeah. I don't like what they did with the Hulk, and that was my biggest gripe with that.
No, I would agree with that. I do agree with you too, Mike. I think the Titan fight when they are fighting Thanos was one of the better sequences, and I love the part when Thanos stabs the Iron Man, Tony Stark, and you're like, oh shit, this could be it, because we know something's
not. Yeah.
So I just want to chime in because this was my number one. I just want to talk about it now, so we can move into the other stuff, not have to come back to Avengers again. But yeah, it just 10 years in the making, and honestly, if you take a step back, because I mean, obviously hindsight's 2020. If you take a step back and look at how much, or how little any part of this could have gone just so horribly wrong, and would have ended in such a lesser product, and it did.
Well, we know what that looks like,
right? We know that. We know what it looks like, but it's just it speaks volumes to everybody at Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige, the Russo brothers, and everything. How they were able to take a 2.5 hour movie, whatever it is, and be like, hey, we have what is it? Probably a dozen to a dozen and a half characters.
I feel like 15 at least. Yeah, probably, 5 in Guardians of the Galaxy right there, and then
it's just all these characters that some of them have never exchanged words before. We're gonna juggle them all in the air. Some of them are gonna go here, some of them are gonna go here, and it's just like, damn, dude, the writing was off, this and the other thing, and just from a pure strategic standpoint, it's just man, that could have gone so bad, in terms of maybe these characters don't have chemistry, maybe the actors. But what I also loved was how it was a collaborative product, even just beyond the writers and the director and stuff like that, but even the actors. One of my favorite sequences was aside from the last fight on what's the planet name?
Titan.
Oh, Titan.
Titan was when Star-Lord and his crew went to fight Thanos on Nowhere, and he has Gamora, and he's pointing the gun, and she's like, "No, at me," and then he does it, and then shoots and displays into bubbles, because that is just one of those things that's so surprising, because originally it was written that he didn't pull the trigger. And I think it was even Chris Pratt and Kevin or James Gunn, right?
Okay.
James Gunn that was Star-Lord totally would do this. He just made a promise on his dead mother's grave, that he would do this. That is meaningful. It's yeah, you know what? You're right. And it just makes for a better product. But shorten it, just it had everything going for it, and it had the spectacle. And that's really what put it over the top for me over the Spider-Verse, was just a combination of 10 years of build-up, all these characters getting to do awesome stuff, with the exception of the Hulk, which I'm expecting the next movie will get in spades to make up for it. Sure. But that last fight with Titan was sheer spectacle. And I know one thing we talk about is how video games emulate movies, whereas this is one thing where I feel movies actually emulated video games, because you could put QTE prompts and a UI interface, and I could have sworn that could have been just a video game. Press A to do awesome things, press X to do awesome things. Yeah. Press LR and XY at the same time to drop a moon on your opponent. Just what the fuck? All right, we're just going all out here. But it was just fantastic. And the last part was, Corey, when you talked about how Thanos stabbed Tony Stark, I legitimately was oh shit, okay.
Right. No, I mean, that's the thing. We all kind of assumed something shitty was going to happen at some point. You're this could be it. You knew there were stakes going into this movie.
Yeah. So it was just a wonderful moment. Even though he survived, I mean, you saw he was utterly that was a broken man.
Yeah, and what Thanos says to him after was awesome too. Just
it's and that's the thing. Thanos is such a badass. This is one of the few movies that I feel became more than just a movie where just the thing on Reddit alone with Thanos did nothing wrong, the memes that are still to this day coming out on a regular basis, it's just one of those things that was
I mean, it was influential. I mean, the Reddit, didn't they do the snap on Reddit for people?
Yeah, they did the snap and something. I just talk about culturally, I feel it's one of those things that's going to be talked about for
sure. All right, Mike, what was your number one?
My number one was cheating.
Double D's.
Yeah, I did Daredevil season 3. just because it's the best thing I watched all year.
Netflix has canceled Daredevil season 3.
Yes,
I agree with you. It was fantastic.
It's not even a movie though. Like
we could rank.
I know, but I didn't watch enough movies.
I don't care. We're not talking about TV shows.
We never talk about TV shows of the year, so here it is. There it is. There's a chance for TV to shine.
So that's Mike's TV show of the year. Your number one movie of the year.
Yes.
What was it again?
Spider-Verse, I guess.
So Daredevil was excellent though. It was a great, and if we had to rank these, I would say yes. I would agree with you.
Yeah,
it deserves to be ranked up there. It was fantastic. So go on. You can talk to us about it. Go on.
I mean, no, that's just it. Like, I don't know.
I don't want to take your time away because you ranked it.
No, it's fine. No, yeah. I mean, I always prefer the TV experience usually over movies anyway. I think the stories are better and paced better, and it's just, and I thought that was a culmination of,
it was well done, very well.
5 years of stuff as well.
Yeah, true.
So, and unfortunately it's a send-off, but it still works that way.
It worked very well with the way they ended that show.
So no, I was very satisfied with it, and it pretty much hit all the notes it needed to.
All right, well, so then Corey, we have the agreement here, and Mike as well. Spider-Verse is the best of movies for 2018. So yeah, go on, Corey.
Well, we talked obviously in length about this on our spoiler cast, so definitely check that out. But just to reiterate a little bit about that, they did a Spider-Man origin story that we all loved. It's like ridiculous. Like it's like a Spider-Man origin story that we've seen like 3 times on screen already. But
they made the origin story fun in this. That's why I love it. They're like, okay, here's my story. And they're like,
about this is there's so much going on in it that there's different things that we like about it. Like, to me, what I like about it is you get a different look at Peter Parker than you've ever seen before.
Right. No, and we've
never seen like 40-year-old Peter Parker before.
And you're getting, like you mentioned, you didn't like that much, and Tony said it was great. The animation, in my opinion, was just like some of the best animation I've seen ever.
I think it was awesome.
I just think I heard other people say they honestly thought that it was supposed to be in 3D. So to me,
I could understand that aspect of it, because there are parts that are just flat out blurry because
that's the way they wanted to focus it. Yeah,
but I felt like they pulled the comic book, and like this is what a modern comic book would look like. I guess like this is what I wanted a comic book movie.
Those comic book TV things they do. This would be awesome to do it with those things. That's what I want.
And they even do like the thought bubbles and stuff. Like I thought like all that.
I think
animation, like styling, I thought was fantastic. That was some of the best ever. The soundtrack you mentioned, Tony, like that, it blew me away. I loved when Prowler was on screen. Like every time he came on screen, I thought it was like menacing, and like the music that paired with it was just perfect.
See,
like, every time.
That's why I want to chime in here. Is like I agree with you, Tony. Where I think that Kingpin was not the strongest of villains because he was the big bad. I think the supporting villains he had were excellent. So you had the Prowler, and I think that I like Doc Ock. I think she was excellent.
Sure.
I just
Thanos compared to Thanos.
Yeah. I mean, obviously he's a stronger villain. But for me,
you're just like the number one guy for like the villain mixed stories.
I am, but when you have my favorite superhero, Spider-Man, in a movie that's actually really, 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 really good and entertaining, and you get to see, because it's animated, you get to see and have them move way better than you can with anything live action, even CG. I think it was CG sort of, but it's just like they can move like a comic book, and what you picture Spider-Man to move. And I don't know anything about Miles Morales' character. I don't. I never really read his comics, but this makes me very interested in his story.
Sure.
And even Spider-Gwen, I'm like, I don't even know about her character, but I thought she was excellent in this. And then you have the 40-year-old Peter Parker, who is that's my Spider-Man. That's my Spider-Man. And now he's 40 years old, and just to see where he went. Yeah, I brought that in. So yeah, for me it was so.
36, but yeah,
okay,
close enough.
I'm 37, so yes, close enough.
It's our age, Jim. Yeah. But that's the thing. Is like it was great to see that side of Spider-Man. To kind of be that unwanted mentor in a way, and like then to see the character come to his own. And for me, my favorite scene in any movie that I've seen so far was when he dons the suit, and that's just that moment when Miles Morales use the character that he is in this movie, because it's not like that in the comic, but him spray painting the suit spray painting the spider logo on it, and just seeing that costume on him for the first time, and him jumping down and like taking that leap of faith was just my favorite scene in any movie.
And that's what it is I remember when I was watching that, I was because I know that was like one of the preview shots in like the trailers and stuff, but there was a part where like when he jumps away, there's glass that breaks off of those windows. I'm thinking, because me, I'm a rational thinking person at 30 something now, where I'm like, dude, that glass could fucking fall. You're goddamn New York City, like that could kill somebody. It's like such a weird thing to do. But I was reading online and somebody analyzed it and was like, yeah, the reason the glass broke off is because he was still like, there's that still shred of like I don't know, hesitation in him because, he couldn't fully like, he didn't want to fully let go of the building. Not saying that's 100% true, but as I started to think, I was like, damn, like, okay, I could see that. Whereas like him overcoming his fear finally, and like you said, taking that leap of faith to make him be Spider-Man. So, awesome.
No, I mean that at the end of this movie, like I want to just get up and cheer, like just
fist bump, like go Spidey.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it was great. And then the post credits on that movie for me was hilarious. And
you.
So it made it think when they brought out. I mean, they had a Christmas album come out for Spider-Man, and I listened to it because of this movie. So yeah, number one. All right, so we're gonna have our anticipated coming up here, but just to recap our top fives, mine will be. Whoops, I'm in video games. Almost ran off my video game list. Mine is Aquaman, Ant-Man. I almost went in alphabetical order. Aquaman, Ant-Man, Black Panther, Infinity War, Spider-Man.
A lot of men.
Yeah, that's my top five. Mike, your top four. with the. You can list your favorite.
Yeah, so Black Panther, Infinity War, Aquaman, Spider-Verse, Daredevil Season 3.
Okay, thank you. Corey, your top five.
Crazy Rich Asians, Mission Impossible, Fallout, A Quiet Place, Infinity War, and Into the Spider-Verse.
Okay, and Tony.
Bumblebee, To All the Boys I've Loved Before, Black Panther, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and Avengers Infinity War.
Cool. So I like your guys'... Yeah, I like the list where they get something other than superhero movies. I really would love to have done that. Sorry for those that I didn't do that for. But
it was a good year for superhero movies.
But I appreciate that. I appreciate your list for not having them on there. So, all right, anticipated. Mike, what would be your most anticipated this year?
I went back and forth on this a little bit. I thought of the next Avengers, but I have my reservations, obviously, about that. Because I feel like it's just going to make me like upset about where they're going afterwards.
Like you're going to be upset no matter what. Like we're all calling. We know you're going to be upset no matter what.
And so I'm a little reserved about that. I also was thinking maybe
it's Shazam already. Come on, Mike.
No, maybe it's the next Star Wars. Then I'm like, the last one still sort of left me not that hyped. So I'm going to go with Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Oh, very nice.
Because I know Spider-Man. I like how things are going with there. Although I'm not in love with the whole.
Jake Gyllenhaal, man.
There's some aspects of this trailer I wasn't in love with, but
Sandman and Hydro.
Mostly actually Jake Gyllenhaal looking ridiculous and the MJ nonsense still.
Yeah, I don't like the MJ nonsense either, but
But still, no, I know it's going to be good. So that's why I'm anticipating it the most, because I feel like that's the most likely that to not disappoint. The other two might.
All right, Corey.
Yeah, for me, I kind of know what I'm getting at, so I'm anticipating them, but like I'm not as anticipating them as much as Alita: Battle Angel.
Oh, nice, very nice, cool.
It's like I just want to see what they do here. I'm just like, I kind of know what we're getting with the other ones, like you mentioned already. They're sequels for the most part. So like I was like, should I put John Wick here? But that's a sequel, so we kind of already have that. Alita, we don't have anything really for. Seen the trailers a little bit, but Robert Rodriguez, James Cameron putting a movie together, and it's an anime. It's like
I can totally see that. Like, I'm dying to see that movie too, because one, I love that the source material on that, the manga anime movie, the OVA or whatever it was. Obviously we know Cameron can direct stuff and produce quality films and stuff like that. Like it's
definitely it's so anticipated. Why? Like, because again, we don't know. It could totally be an awful like adaptation, and we just. Why did they even make this? Fuck this movie. But at the same time, it could be, amazing. So who knows?
Yeah.
So that's my most anticipated right now.
Tony,
I got to go with Avengers. Somebody's got to talk about it. But I mean, this is like the thing that is going to end like just a saga. Really, it is a saga. I would compare it to the equivalent of like Star Wars, just literally a cultural phenomenon. Because I mean, way back when, probably
end of generation, really.
Right. It is. I mean, if you think about it, like. Was the podcast started by the time like Iron Man was out, or was that like
it was?
Was it?
I think. Well, I know some of the first episodes when it was just the three of us. We talked a lot about how Avengers is going to be pulled off. So I think it was during the first gen.
Yeah,
I think it might have been. Yeah. So
it's one of those things where like when you hear it, they're like, oh, we're building a cinematic universe. We're going to base it off of the success of Iron Man. Use whatever we can salvage from the Hulk and stuff. And you're going to try to create a cinematic universe of our B and C list heroes. Because, I mean, they didn't have the Spider-Man. They didn't have the X-Men, Fantastic Four, who are all, like, arguably, like, A minus,
Yeah, I mean, Fantastic Four got a movie before.
Right, exactly. And it's just like, it literally, like, I think about it in Iron Man 1, coincidentally enough, poetically enough, where it's like, I just think about when the bad guy's yelling at his scientists. He's like, you guys have all the best technology, and fucking Tony Stark built a nuclear reactor in a fucking cave with a box of scraps. It's like, that's literally what Marvel did with their cinematic universe. It's like Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Hawkeye, Black Widow. It's just like, what? Like, it just
Hulk who failed twice.
Right, Hulk who had already failed twice. It's like, what are you doing? You're really banking on this? And it's like, they just made us care about these characters, made us care about these universe. And what happened to the character. So it really is going to just wrap it up. And, it could be bad. It could just have like one of the worst endings. I'd be like, well, fuck that. But at least I need to see it. I need to see the end. I need to see the end.
Yeah.
Hard to argue with that.
When I did my most anticipated, I didn't realize how close my video game list is going to compare to my my actual movie list. And my most anticipated is episode 9, just because I'm a huge Star Wars fan. And for me, I think it's obviously not a guarantee this is going to be a good movie. I think the last movie was so polarizing with who liked it and who didn't, that there's a lot of work to be done. Also, like there's a lot of work to be done in this movie. And I think that I really wonder if J.J. Abrams can tie it back together. It's just going to be interesting.
Is he just going to undo everything that was undone?
I don't think so. I know he's going to tie it in. I just don't know what they're going to do for integration. And for me, it's Star Wars. I mean, I've watched Luke Skywalker since I was a kid, and obviously disappointing with Last Jedi.
Honestly, so something that made me want to have an anticipated more is that it seems like Ghost or whatever. It seems like Luke is going to have more of a role in this than I thought originally.
Yeah, that's weird. That's really weird, man. If only we had talked about that as a possibility before. Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this the best. Cool. So we'll see. I got a whole year of waiting for this movie, but I will not be avoiding the trailers this time. Not avoiding them. So
that was one of the worst experiments ever.
It was horrible. It was horrible.
So, run out of the theater.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's going to wrap up the of the year edition of our Moviecast. Thanks for tuning in all of last year and tuning into this year. We have we're stockpiling news because there's been news coming out. So next week we will be covering news. So just check that. We don't even have a topic because there's too much news. We'll see what happens next week on news. But tune in next week. Yeah. Write us podcast at allycangeek.net. Follow us on Twitter, allycangeek. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button.
Let us know what your favorites and
disappointments. Mm-hmm. Thanks for tuning in. See you soon.
Go on, Season 3 movie of the year.